Welcome to our series, The Battle for Public Education in the 21st Century. I'm Ken Yale, Education Correspondent for Flashpoints on Pacifica Radio.
Yeah, feel this from the bottom of my heart, y'all. Truly inspired. Here we go, come on, look, yo, just teaching to the test. Forced by the feds, or they losing that check. Too many children left behind by this corporate assembly line. How they privatize education is a human right, and they kids gonna be fine. They send them to private schools, while ours get sent to prison or given a job serving fast food. Cash rules.
Today's program is entitled Breaking Through the Poverty of Imagination. This is part 2 of our exploration into what it looks like, sounds like, and feels like when a school is grounded in social justice. We'll also take a closer look at restorative justice. Today we're excited to be visiting Met West High School, a public school in Oakland. Met West is built around internships, projects, and individualized learning. How is social justice woven into the program? Let's ask a teacher, a parent, and a student. We'll start with Alex Mejia, who's hosting our visit today. Alex teaches English and history and coordinates student internships.
Students being able to advocate for themselves in the job market and build relationships with adults and feel like they deserve a place where they can lead productive lives in the sense of doing meaningful work in their communities. That's a huge part of the social justice piece here. Students from working class backgrounds have an opportunity to actually feel like they deserve to do the type of work that they want to do and not just take low-wage jobs that are very prevalent in the community. Another piece of social justice is just the participatory nature of our school and the opportunities we have for students to take leadership in developing the curriculum. We have the flexibility with curriculum to co-construct that with students. In the 11th grade, we sat down with focus groups of students over the summer and developed projects around urban development and transit development, and actually carried out a 2-month-long project with AC Transit that we co-created with students. And then a third way is that we talk about colonialism, capitalism, movements against those systems, and students learn about movement history.
Terry Keith was a classroom teacher for 30 years, mostly in New York City. Today she's a parent volunteer at Met West.
We're very committed to social justice and positive changes in the world. For 9th and 10th grades, the curriculum is oppression liberation. In 11th grade, they study the prison industrial complex. And as opposed to, reading American history and George Washington landed here or slept there, they learn about what real people go through, and particularly people of color and poor people. And as a benefit to all of us, we learn about all kinds of civil rights movement, and we're very fortunate to be having the one and only Dolores Huerta to be coming to our school next week and share with us her experiences and knowledge. And we've dedicated our common space to her, so it's called Huerta Hall.
Nosey Gonzales is a junior at Met West.
I know that I'm very passionate about gentrification in Oakland, and that's one of the topics that I like to focus on a lot. That's a part of social justice. What can we do to help the community and ourselves?
One of the unusual things about Met West is that a lot of learning happens outside of the classroom, in community-based internships and projects.
Students go out into the world and work in community-based organizations, businesses, schools, nonprofits, etc. And so they get experience in the work world, being mentored by adults who see them as individuals.
We do internships every Tuesday and Thursday. Everybody in school is supposed to have an internship. Most schools that do have internships, it's not every grade. But here we start since 9th grade at the beginning of the year. My 9th grade year, I did an internship at an elementary school called the Reach Academy. I worked with a science teacher leading 3rd grade lessons. My 10th grade year, I did an internship at KDO TV that I learned how to produce a video, how to edit video, a lot of journalism. And this year, I'm doing a program at Highland Hospital.
Met West individualizes instruction and support in a variety of ways, including organizing students into what are called families. Families at Met West are supportive groups of 20 students and their teacher advisors.
We're very small, have about 150 students. We've transformed the regular school day. We have small advisories of about 20 students, cohorts that meet together and do their humanities block of learning and then go off to other classes. And the fact that we have credentialed teachers who work with these 20 students as their main group of students is a huge defining piece of what makes Met West what it is. I think the degree of individualization is what makes Met West a little different than other schools and allows us to support students in developing their talents and seeking out places where they can explore their passions and their interests.
Well, I think the dominant educational narrative leads to people who can only succeed up to a certain level. And one of the things that Met West does is it individualizes its programs so that each student is met where they're at and helped to grow and develop in an area of importance. And most of our students come from low-income families, so they're very familiar with the struggles of poverty. And we just help them to learn, one, how it's not their fault, two, how it's systematic and they get sucked into the system, and three, and I think most importantly, what they can do to overcome it and to get out of that situation and to help to not only improve their lives, but the lives of their community. And we grow, I like to say, really healthy people who want to make a difference in the world.
Kayla Keith is Terry Keith's daughter. She's a sophomore.
I appreciate the openness and safety that I feel here. The first day I walked in, nobody is staring at me because in every school I've gone to, someone's always staring at the new kid. So that was the first thing that I noticed. So when I got with the family group, I noticed that, kids who, you can still tell that they probably were bullies before, they really calmed down and they're not insulting you anymore. Everybody is, focused on work. They want to do well and they want to focus on their passions, which I've never been exposed to before. Relationships between the students is really interesting because of the small sizes. You just know everybody. You feel okay talking to them, asking for help, asking questions. So it's a really open environment with everybody in the school.
And how do students and staff of different races and cultures get along here?
It literally is like a family. Everybody trusts everybody. There will always be cliques you want to be with your friends, but it's not separated by race. Everybody does mix. They like to be with each other. As long as they like each other, they'll hang out. They don't care about your race.
What happens when a student is struggling here?
We have a restorative practices team whose specific goal is to work with students who are struggling at school, struggling in the community. Within our advisories, we do a lot of community building to try to get at the root of the social relationships within the school and create healthy relationships to try to undermine the basis for any type of conflicts among students here. Students need support for different reasons, and we try to take them one student at a time to address what their needs are.
If someone's struggling and needs help, the class is there to support as well as the advisor and other staff. And if it gets really serious, we have a circle in our class, as long as it's okay with the person struggling, to open up the situation so everybody in that moment can right there give advice and try and help. And then sometimes we recommend a buddy for them at lunch. And we don't really give referrals. We try not to suspend people. I've actually never seen a fight here. I've seen a really bad argument, but they both get sent out and have a sit down with their parents. And when we feel that there's a tear in the community, they're separated. They get sent to 12th grade classrooms to calm down, see how it is being a senior, so they can really get the feel this is why I'm here. When they come back, we have a circle to welcome them back into our community in our advisory.
We'll come back to Met West in a moment. But first, a number of programs in this series have referenced using restorative practices in schools rather than harsh disciplinary policies. There isn't just one model or approach for restorative justice, but here's one way to think about it. This is George Galvis, Executive Director of Communities United for Restorative Youth Justice.
For me, restorative justice is not an initiative or a neat new program or a curriculum. It's a way of life and a way of being with each other. When there is a harm in our community, it's unbalancing. And rather than point the finger and try to shame, blame, and guilt someone, it's really about us collectively coming together in circle to figure out how we rebalance, how we create balance in the circle again. And so this is very much rooted in my indigenous traditions. If we are in fact really going to be about restorative justice, it's a cultural shift. Everyone has to be part of it. And you can't just have circle process when a harm occurs, when there's a fight between two students. And what it's also about, and this is where it becomes challenging, harm isn't just committed among students. There's teachers and administrators who commit harm too. They have to agree to be a part of circle process too. Right? And so it's really an equalizer in many ways around power dynamics. And so that can be very difficult, particularly when we think about the roots of education, public education, I should say, and its design and its purpose around, reinforcing systems of hierarchy and social stratification and power and control. If I have a problem with you, rather than hold that And it might spill out in different ways. It could be, microaggressions and passive-aggressive interactions, or it could just be like straight up after school, I'm gonna knock your head in, you know what I mean? So that said, I now have a vehicle or a way. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna bring you an offering. The native way, I might offer you some tobacco. Say, hey, I'd like to talk with you, sit down. I'm gonna tell you in my heart and express, what it was, and we're gonna sit and we're gonna talk, and I'm gonna share how I felt, and we're gonna respond. And because I offered you that medicine, and because that medicine is sacred, you're gonna honor, and we're gonna both speak from our heart. Now, in a school setting, it might look a little bit different. Let's just say it was an issue between a student and a teacher. I'm going to use an example of what my daughter brought to me recently about something that happened at her school. She said, you guys stop hanging out there. What are you guys, the such and such gang? And as a young person of color, being referred to as a gang, a very loaded term, carries a stigma, that really bothered my daughter. So in a school where there's a restorative justice model, she might bring that to the attention of the restorative justice coordinator, because when she began to challenge the yard duty teacher who said that to her, she was threatened with suspension. But in a restorative justice school, they would sit down in circle, and they would each have a talking piece where they would have the opportunity to express themselves, to talk about how that made her feel, why she didn't like it, and there would be an opportunity to make amends, to heal it up, to develop some agreements so that there would be some transformative healing. Every time an incident of harm occurs, it's a learning opportunity. But Western society treats it as more of an opportunity to lock somebody up and blame and shame and all that.
Now back to Met West. I asked Alex Mejia and Kayla Keith how success is defined and evaluated at Met West.
I think that success for students involves embodying habits of mind and having experiences where they're successful academically, successful in the social environment, in the community, and developing themselves as just community members. And that can look many different ways for different students. It means them having an internship where they're being challenged to learn new skills, being challenged to participate and take leadership in a workplace. It means students learning how to write in meaningful context for real audiences and be persuasive and put forward cohesive and meaningful arguments. I think that the more that education can reflect problem solving in the community and real world problem solving, that to me is success. And when students can actually learn how does city government work, what does a school budget look like, how does it function, and then how can I as a student make an argument for how it should change, I think that's success, because that's preparing people to go out into the world and advocate for the type of world they want to be in.
And how do you evaluate that here as opposed to typically standardized tests at other schools?
Students show what they've learned through projects. Every project they do at Met West involves a serious project documentation paper. So there's writing involved. So we have rubrics for that we use to assess students. There's the impact of the project itself. Was it successful? Why or why not? There's many ways to assess student growth in ways that are really meaningful, portfolios. And all these types of assessments require human energy and human time. And so they require us to sit down with students and actually individually look at where did they grow? Where do they still need to grow?
It's not really a competition. It's just like they want you to do well. And they always tell me, it's like, Kayla, just because someone else is doing better, you don't compete with them. The only person you should be competing with is yourself. Like the ways that you see that you're struggling, you have to find out ways to get better at it. And I will always help you. So it's really about you.
Today is a special day at Met West. It's one of the exhibition days when students present what they've learned to their families and to others in the school community.
One of the things that they do here, as opposed to giving midterms and finals and individualized testing, is the students present the knowledge that they've gained in an exhibition format, where they speak in front of a group of people and explain what they've learned over the past few weeks and how it's related to their lives and what they think about it and how they can make changes in the world.
Exhibitions, just like presentations, are kind of like our final, our big final. I mean, what we talk about in exhibitions is what we've been learning in class, what project. You talk about your internship and what do you do there. You practice your presentation skills, your speaking skills, your like stance, and just the way you talk and the way you present. Just showing people that you're capable of doing these things.
Let's drop in for a moment on one of the exhibitions. Laura Martinez did her internship at CCWP, the California Coalition for Women Prisoners. It gave her an opportunity to pursue her interests in both medicine and social justice. Listen to this.
I know that many of you guys might be asking how did I go from being interested in the medical field to interning in CCWP. Reading all these health articles that are from prisoners, it inspired me to learn more about what's in there. Us out here don't know how they feel or what they go through every day. Every day is different. I go in and we don't know what to expect. It's either we're looking at letters from prisoners or administrative work or checking the inmate locator. And I learn new and different things every day and I just love it. I'm more independent. Also, I'm gaining confidence in myself and also in other people. And that's meeting my goal for the semester, because my goal for the semester was asking for help and stepping out of my comfort zone. Thank you guys for coming.
What is the purpose of the exhibition?
Why we have exhibitions is to teach our peers what we learn, like throughout the quarter, throughout the year. Many of us don't know where everybody interns, so like having a family and like learning from them. Having exhibitions also prepares us for the future, for big presentations. I think it really prepared me for presenting in front of people, and like not only my peers but like my mentor and like yourself and my mom also. So I think it helps us for our future too.
Who was in the room today?
My mom, my family one, my mentor Hafsa, and my advisors.
And how did it feel to present in front of everybody?
Well, it was kind of nerve-wracking, but I felt confident because I knew what I was talking about. I know like my internship and like my slideshow, I was actually prepared for it.
We could tell.
Yeah.
You did a really good job.
Thank you.
I asked Alex, Nelsie, and Terry about how well Met West prepares students for life after high school.
I think Met West has one of the higher graduation rates in the Oakland Unified School District, and also I think one of the highest college acceptance rates for seniors who are applying to colleges.
Met West is a great school. Sometimes you get kind of like overwhelmed that it's so small that you know everybody or you see the same faces all the time. But I mean, I feel like it absolutely prepares you for life. I made a good choice coming to Met West.
It's really a challenging program. You can't just sit back and relax and get an A, but you're not out there by yourself. You have the support of your parents, you have the support of your advisor, you have the support of your mentor, and you also have the support of your peers, because each student has a peer coach. So while the challenge is great, the support is greater, and that makes it really successful.
I'm wondering if you think this is a school where only certain types of students can succeed, or do you believe there could be lots of schools like this that work for a broad population of students?
This school is built for success. It's built to take kids who are struggling and help them succeed. And if they need more time, you know, they can just take all the classes again. And they really help you try and get your grades up so that you know the material. They make sure the whole way that you know what you're doing. And I think it would be great if there were more schools like this.
I think it would definitely work for a broad population of students, but only because it's based on the individual. We can duplicate this model in other places. We can't necessarily expand it. So we don't want our school to get any bigger, and we have lots of people on the waiting list who want to be here. What we want for OUSD to do is to open more schools like this.
What do you think it would take to replicate this model on a larger scale?
We're dealing with a situation where we've had declining revenue for schools, shrinking budgets and austerity. We're in a situation that compels us to, quote unquote, do more with less. So we're constantly under pressure to have higher class sizes and to basically have to make do with that. Oakland Unified School District has the lowest paid teachers in all of Alameda County, and that leads to statistics like about 73 to 75% of teachers in Oakland are new every 5 years, new to the district, which is an incredibly high turnover and contributes to the destabilization of school communities, which ends up destabilizing the community as a whole. Taking it to scale would mean providing teachers across a district like Oakland's, or across a state or a country or a world, with a really low adult-to-student ratio, such that adults can actually build meaningful relationships with all their students and support them all in their own paths of learning for academic success, social, emotional growth, etc. And that's possible if district officials, teachers, the union all fight for more funding from the state, fight for more funding from places like the financial institutions that got bailed out in the past few years. If there's a tax on developers who are hungry to grab up land in a place like Oakland, there's a ton of money out there in the society, but we need to fight for it.
Let's leave it there for today. The last several programs profiled Met West High School and June Jordan School for Equity. Each one offers innovative, inspiring, and somewhat different approaches for social justice education. Many other models exist nationally and internationally. Even more are waiting once we break through our poverty of imagination and fight for what's possible and necessary for a socially just world. Next week, we'll explore how other parts of the world approach social justice education. Many thanks to today's guests for sharing their deep insights and wisdom. Check out the Flashpoints website at flashpoints.net to hear all the programs and the full interviews used to make them. For Flashpoints on Pacifica Radio, I'm Ken Yale. The executive producer of Flashpoints is Dennis Bernstein. Technical director is Mike Biggz.